What's up, everybody? You've tuned in to Just Draws, the podcast that explores hot topics and various experiences among same-gender loving Black men. In each episode, we offer raw, vulnerable, and stripped-down perspectives to give voice to our frequently overlooked population. Here, we don't just scratch the surface, we dive deep, peeling back the layers of our experiences as well as heteronormative stereotypes. Let's get into this week's episode.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Just Draws podcast. I am Jeff.
I'm Darius, aka DMC.
And tonight we are coming from the Alabama Brawl Folding Chair Factory.
Happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Happy Juneteenth. All right. And tonight we have with us John once again. Welcome back, John.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning.
All right.
Draws are just right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. So you're
That
like
is
Goldilocks, huh?
Mhm.
That's what's up. That's awesome.
That's awesome. All right. So you'll notice that tonight we don't have Sean or Brandon with us. They've got some other things going on. But hopefully we'll have them back sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and toss this off to Darius tonight because he's going to be moderating for us.
Yeah.
So Darius, what do you have?
So we were having some conversations. Jeff and I were having some conversations, and I was having some conversations with some other people not too long ago about social media and social media presence. One of the things that we're trying to do with this podcast is we're definitely trying to get more subscribers, and we're trying to get our presence out there a little bit more. None of us on the podcast, none of the hosts on the podcast are like super ultra positive, not positive, prominent, I should say. We are all positive, but not
I'm about
super.
to say, geez.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're not,
Wow.
yeah, not positive. We're not. I didn't mean to say that, but prominent is definitely what I meant to say. But we're not as prominent on social media. We do have some social media following, and people do find us, and we're trying to get a little bit better at boosting our subscribers or boosting our numbers and things of that nature, because I feel like we have something to talk about. So one of the things that we were talking about in one of our production meetings was the idea of social media, like this social media popularity, and how that has kind of, there's been like a renaissance of that among gay men in our community. And so tonight or today or this morning, whenever you're listening to
Whatever
it for
time
this
you're listening.
episode, whatever time you're listening to us now, we want to kind of talk about that and talk about maybe how this kind of social media boom happened, talk a little bit about our experiences with social media, and then maybe even talk a little bit about where we would like to see ourselves and our podcast go within social media. So I think everybody here, well, I'm not sure. I know Jeff and I are both Generation X. John, are you Generation X or are you millennial?
I am a millennial. Specifically, I'm an elder millennial.
Okay. Yeah. Which
Right.
means, you're at the very beginning of the millennials. So for those of you out there, millennials started, I believe, in 81, 82. Somewhere there's various conversations about when the millennial period started, but it ended right around the early 90s. So very early 90s to the very early almost mid 90s. But Jeff and I are both Generation X, so we are X-Men in this. And so one of the things is we were around when social media really kind of took off. And a question that I've always had is, and I've always wondered is like, why is it that social media matters so much to people now than it did before? Any thoughts about that?
You want to go, John?
Sure.
Okay.
I think it matters now is because you can't escape it. It's connected to every aspect of society now. There are very few places where a lot of people can congregate and just be and not have that social media element. Every time you turn on the news, it's a social media sourced piece of media. Now it's just everybody's recording when something happens. Social media is that way of hyper connecting the world.
And I know the thing for me is that's not my go-to. I don't immediately, when something happens, I don't immediately go to, let me pull out my phone so I can record it. I usually, I'm watching it. And I think that's a byproduct of the fact that we're Generation X, like we weren't thinking about that because we didn't have cell phones, up until, the 90s, maybe the early 2000s, really, because I didn't get my first cell phone till, the early 2000s. I had one, but, that was back in the days of when, don't call me before 9 o'clock, because my minutes are free after 9.
Right.
And then don't, I have so many texts a month. And
you had to pay for text.
you had to pay for text.
Like,
Yeah,
like
it was
10 cents or something.
Yeah, like
Can
I
you
get
imagine?
250 texts in 2,000 minutes, but then my minutes after 9 are free, and then when it moved up to my minutes are free after 7, it was like, ooh, okay, this is it. After, don't call me till 7 o'clock unless it's an emergency, and then I can talk all I want to. But now we have unlimited plans. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I do, like John said, I don't think you can really escape social media now. Like now, not a day goes by where something isn't talked about on this happened on Twitter/X, this happened on Instagram or Facebook. Your people dig deep on your social media if you become a celebrity later on to say, hey, you said this on May 22nd, 2019. This as if you say something that goes back against something that you said before, like people will remember and they'll dig deep into that Twitter profile, look for the receipts, screenshot it and or requote it, and repost it, to say that you did say this. So social media definitely is more ingrained now into how we interact, and that's global. I mean, we're as Americans, we're focused on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and even in other countries, there's different things. I think Weibo or something like that in
Never heard of
China.
that.
So there's all these different apps, and reason why WhatsApp is so popular is because it's a global texting app that's independent of whatever operating system your phone is on. So there's ways to connect people, and because social media, you can live and die off of it very easily on what you say, what you do. You can become an overnight celebrity. Your 15 minutes of fame can go for way longer than 15 minutes now. Like you've got half an hour the way things are going now. And because also, there's the money aspect. You can be monetized because now you can be part of the advertising, streams, and generate income from your post and your content. So that also increases the allure. I didn't really care about social media for a while. It took me a while to get a Facebook. I never had MySpace. It just makes sense to me. I didn't really care about listening to music or people in my top 10. By that time I wasn't, in school anymore. So none of that really mattered to me. I didn't have people that, oh, did you see my MySpace account, or this is the top, songs I'm listening to. I got these graphics and things. Like I went over it, but I never was like, yeah, this isn't me. So, but I think as a Generation X person, you know, back in that time, like, yeah, I like, being able to download music off of Napster and things like that, but I didn't really care about social media that way. Not those early days.
So before we got phones that were a lot more mobile, like the ones we have now, or before we got our Razor, or before we got our flip phone, or before, we were able to stop using the phone in the bag in the car that you had to plug into the cigarette lighter.
Right.
Like, what were some of your first experiences like with social media. I think one of my first was probably Facebook is the one that sticks out to me. I can remember when Facebook actually started and people were talking about Facebook. And I remember Facebook used to be connected to a school.
Right.
Like you had to
You had
be
to have a
connected to,
.edu.
yeah, so you had to be connected to the school. And because I was working at a college, I was able to get a Facebook account and be able to see people who were other colleagues, or I was able to, once it opened up to everybody, I was able to really connect with people that I hadn't seen in a long time. So I know that Facebook was one of my first. Facebook, and then like you were talking about MySpace, and uh, I'm I'm guessing, well, Black Planet was another one.
Mm.
College Club, I think was one. Yeah, College Club was the precursor to Black Planet, and College Club were precursors to Facebook because Facebook was an actual app. But
Yeah.
College Club and Black Planet were websites that you could go to. So,
Yeah.
but I'm guessing it would go back. Yeah, GeoCities, or I heard somebody call it Geocities, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, but Geocities did sound like a lot sexier.
Has y'all ever heard of Pal Talk?
What's that?
Who?
Has y'all heard of Pal Talk?
No.
No.
Where
There are a few
was
people.
that? Was that just in the
We'll have
country?
I don't know where it was. I wasn't the one that was on Pal Talk, but somebody else I know, they were deep into Pal Talk somehow at the beginning of this social media craze.
Pal Talk or
Pal
Howl Talk?
Talk.
Spell it.
Pal, P-A-L. P-A-L.
Oh,
T-A-L-K.
no, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. That's
So was
weird.
that your first? Was that your first experience though?
No, mine
Okay.
actually was College Club.
Mm.
I want to say maybe College Club and Black Planet, probably racing to be there at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, wait, many days and nights in the college library on College Club. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't really do that, but I do remember now that you say that. I remember we used to actually use IRC, Internet Relay Chat, and would set up these little chat rooms, and you could find stuff. And so I actually had connected with a couple of people on that, because I think with that you would like exchange email addresses, and then chat with people, and then people still use IRC now because it's one of those things that are just so archaic. One of the older, easier things to kind of get into as a way to get to more, how shall I say, shady, darker sides of the web now. But yeah, IRC definitely was one of those things that I connected on, but I don't really never really considered it as like social media so much. But yeah, I know for me, Facebook was definitely the first account that I had, but it took me forever to finally like get onto it. I was dating someone at the time. Actually, we had broken up and reconnected actually, and they were explaining to me what Facebook was, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But because you had to have a .edu, I didn't really think that much about it because I was like, well, I'm not in college anymore. That was like 2 or 3 years ago. So, I don't really have much use for this. I mean, I guess I could probably try to connect with people that, I went to school with. But it was so out of my vision of, things that I wanted to do at the time. But I mean, eventually I got on and I created an account, and then I think I was on it for a little while. And, fast forward, it was a couple of years later, I was in a different relationship, and I was the type that was like, why do you have 542 friends? Like, you don't know 542 people. So I couldn't really get over that concept of
So
it. And I
you were
ended up,
judging that man.
I sure was, because it didn't make sense to me that you didn't really know those people. But now that I know how Facebook works, oh, okay, now I see. But I had that account. I ended up deleting it because it just seemed like it was a lot more drama. And then I think I ended up being forced to get Facebook just because it was making it easier to sign in to certain apps with a Facebook account than it would be to just create an email address. And I was like, I'm just going to do this just to make it easier for myself. And I mean, I use it now primarily as my main social media content. But I've got an account on everything now. But yeah, definitely Facebook, I would say, would be the first one. But it's got some good and bad about it. But I definitely see more Generation X people on Facebook.
Yeah, because
And
Facebook is out of date for everybody else, especially
yeah,
like, Generation Z and Alpha. Yeah, they're like Facebook. Mm-mm.
yeah, they're more of the video content type of deal. I've
Mm-hmm.
gotten more into Twitter as a social network, but before, to me, I just use it to like live tweet the few TV shows that were worth watching for me at the time.
And
You know,
porn.
what's that?
And porn now.
I mean, yeah, most people use it as porn. It's an official porn app. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and you don't even have to, now that your likes are hidden, you don't even need an alt account anymore. You can just keep it all on your main account now. You don't have to go through the process of hiding what you like, or if you want to be, racist, or you're into something, how shall I say?
Yeah, just say it. That's how you say
Yeah,
it. Just say it.
you down in the trenches with your
Mm-hmm.
kinks and fetishes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got some alternative lifestyles, some alternative lifestyles.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, Twitter definitely, has I think taken a lot of it because of its freedom and lack of censorship so much now in the Elon Musk era. I think it's become more popular than that. Like, there's people that say, "Oh, I got rid of my Twitter account," but you still know it's on Twitter. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of like, again, that's my experience, or has been my experience with a lot of the social media. I mean, I have a lot of the social medias now, and I'm usually the one now that will just kind of give it a shot to see what it's talking about. So like I was one of the first people to jump on Threads, and there are people still trying to figure out what Threads is. I'm still trying to figure out what it is. It's just another Instagram for you to be able yeah, just to be able to post stuff. Yeah. And that's what it is. So I don't know if it's supposed to be doing something else, but
it seems like it wants to be Twitter in a way. But
oh yeah.
Meta still doesn't like have everything figured out, because like you can't cross post video to Threads and Facebook and Instagram.
Right.
You're kind of like stuck, and it's kind of like these technologies should have been able to talk to each other from the get go. Because this is all Meta Facebook. So my expectation would have been like, hey, if I cross post to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, everything in Threads, Facebook, Threads, Instagram, all of those things, all the media that's attached with that post should just kind of come along for the ride. But that's not what works. That's not how it works, at least right now, in June of 2024. So hopefully that'll be a feature upgrade. But yeah, I think that's probably the reason why Threads hadn't caught up like it should be, or well, I think how they wanted it to. And people only like left Twitter, around the time that I think Threads was trying to take off. People came back to Twitter because Threads really wasn't popping. But I mean, it still has time to grow. I mean, I remember when Twitter came out, and it was just, what are you doing? That was it. You had 128 characters to say something, and it didn't at the time feel like it had a purpose or anything. And then, here we are, decades, almost 20 years later, and it is really kind of grown into something that's way more bigger than what I would have ever thought it would have been. But yeah, I remember when it came out, but I never signed up for an account. I think I eventually got one like 2 years later, but I just was like, nah, I can live without it.
I've been there for 14 years at this point. I remember. Do y'all remember when Ashton Kutcher and CNN were wagering who could get to 1 million followers first?
No, I don't
That's
remember
when
that.
I remember that. Do you remember servers being overheated and breaking down? You saw that big old whale.
Hell well.
Yeah, I remember those days. I remember when you would go to different apps to post. Like, if you couldn't do it on Twitter, there was a twit bot, or there
Yeah.
was like just different little things you could go on and tweet when Twitter was acting up. Shoot, I still remember when Rihanna was just a Twitter
Oh
assassin.
yeah. I remember those days.
Shoot, Twitter. I think Twitter is probably the one I open first because you just never know what you're gonna see. It's
Yeah.
enjoyable. I still enjoy it from time to time. Now, if I get tired of somebody, I'll mute them with the quickness. I'll be like, okay, you go over here to where I don't see you for a while until I'm ready to see you.
Protect your
But
peace.
yeah, all the time. I'm in
So
that
you all
era of my
were,
life.
yeah, you all were already kind of in the lifestyle when social media came out, right?
Oh yeah,
I would say
definitely.
yeah, but it really wasn't that big of a impact for me. I think then though.
Well, I was just asking because you were talking about your one of your exes, and
Mm.
you were asking about why he had 543 friends, and actually he had 542 because everybody's first friend was Tom. So
That he
he was
was.
he was off the hook on at least one of those, but nobody knew who Tom was anyway.
Okay.
So right. What so one of the things that we've also talked about is the idea of the LGBTQ plus presence, specifically gay men's presence on social media versus everybody else's social media presence. Do y'all see like differences with between the content and even the frequency or the volume at which that stuff is posted or comes out?
I do. Very much so. As far as gay men, it's a lot more rampant. It's depending on the person, it's nonstop, and it's kind of like, what the fuck is
Hmm.
going on with you? Like, what? Why are you trying to drag us into whatever beef you got? You know, there's somebody out there that say, look, hoes should just be pretty. They shouldn't talk. Just let's look good. But
Okay.
since we're in social media, everybody, including the pretty gay men that whose elevators don't go all the way to the top, have a voice, even if
Yeah.
no one wants to hear it.
Yeah, that's the thing because like you can have there's lots of pretty guys that have followings, so they really have a platform. You've got people with, you know, a small town worth of people uh following them, and then let's say even if half of those were bots, you still have 20,000 live people uh following you, and you can just basically say anything and people will kind of cling on that. So you can, like I said before, you can live and die off of that. You can post something to those 25,000 live people and it can take off, and go viral or, positively or negatively. And because you can monetize your tweets and things like that, it becomes more profitable if you're popular. Now, just because you're popular, you can be, one of my favorite phrases, loud and wrong, because being popular gets you very loud. But there's a lot of times those folks can be very wrong. But I think that also goes into the fact that, we have to accept that we are visual creatures, gay men, and we like things that look pretty. And because of that, you have the guy that was just cute to his hometown of 35,000 people. Now he's got an entire world of people that he can be cute and pretty to. Collect followers, post some thirst traps, say, hey, this is my what beauty routine, and it's sponsored by beauty company XYZ, and paid content, and they're getting money for clicks. Same thing that the Kardashians did, and now that has trickled down to average Joe man, and even if it's just a couple of $100 per month, I mean that's still money that you didn't really have to do a lot for other than take a photo and type out a couple of words, and because you're popular on social media, you're getting paid, and you can expand that and try to do that on multiple platforms, just like a Kardashian did. So,
I think that a lot of the content that we're seeing, especially from gay men, tends to be over sexualized. And I usually equate how overly sexualized their content is by how many followers they have.
Okay.
So the the you talked about gay men, the pretty gay man or the pretty, guy who was really just pretty or attractive in his community, and now everybody finds him attractive. Like, I look at some of the content of some of these people, and it's like a lot of gym photos or a lot of gray sweatpant photos or shirtless or I'm at the
I
beach.
pulled up through my crack so you can see
Y-
my whole ass,
so you
but
can
it's not
see
my
all
ass.
of that. Exactly. Like, so it seems that a lot of that stuff is very sexualized. Like, I'd like to build my social media following, but I don't want to do some of those things in order to get more followers. But it feels like that's what,
It's popular.
yeah, and that's what like a lot of people have to do.
I
Jeff,
don't
you
I don't
met Terrell.
necessarily agree though.
Okay.
And I feel like that is true to an extent, but I do feel like there's a balance that one can make in this case because yeah, you can be pretty and whatnot, but I still think that if you have content or you're creating or you're saying things that actually make sense, you can still become popular and you don't have to necessarily be, of the aesthetic. Because there's people that are popular that don't have the aesthetic and they're not necessarily posting thirst traps. They're just funny. They have personalities that come across very well in tweets and social media and Instagram posts. But I'm not gonna lie and sit up here and say that, no, those pretty guys, aren't going to get that because they're going to get it just based on looks. It's just a little bit more simplistic. It's just that it takes you a while to kind of weed through all of that. And the way social media works, at least a lot of these algorithms, they give you that over and over again, with those pretty guys. There's this one guy that there's several guys I'll say, I don't want to follow them. I can recognize that they're pretty and cute, but I'm not interested in, seeing their content. But the way these algorithm work, uh, they try to force me to eventually follow these guys because they're always throwing up on my suggestions, but I don't want to follow them. So how do I fix that? I can either follow them and then mute them. They still get my follow. Or I follow them and then block them, but I don't really care to block them. I just don't want to see them. Even if I tell it, hey, I really am not interested in this content, the algorithm is still going to show me something that they posted eventually. So it kind of keeps those same guys that are already popular, or even those same people popular no matter what. And then you're kind of like, what do I do here? Because I'm not able to see those guys or the people that, hey, I want to see the guys that are on the end in the trenches, the guys that only have like 500 followers but are cute. I want to see that. I always see this guy all the time. I don't feel like I need to follow him. I'm not interested because all he does is post gym selfies. He's not posting anything about his life. He's not saying, hey, look at this, cartoon that I drew, nothing like that. And I know that's boring content, things like that. But I'm the type of person that I would be interested in seeing that more so than you just showing your muscles or you just showing, your pubic hair ever so rising up from your unzipped pants. It's just that content is fine. Don't get me wrong. I definitely like and appreciate attractive men, but at the same time, I don't want to see that all the time. I don't. And if you click on a couple of them, then the algorithm thinks again, I'm going to show you this over and over and over and over again. And especially in the case of Instagram specifically. So you have to kind of like go over to, the Twitters, to kind of find that content where, hey, I'm looking for just some funny people. And you're going to still see the sex and all that too, but it's still a process. You got to just kind of weed through it.
I agree with Darius. You know,
Thank you.
it's the guy. It's like they say, look, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. For the men that are posting, the unclothed shots, the sexy shots, they get the attention. So much so even straight men have kind of caught on to it.
Mm.
So, when you see in body, you have to wonder, is this person straight, gay? What's going on here? I do have to go with a question to something you said, Jeff, or maybe it was you, Darius, but the balance, does the drawing photo or showing parts of their life get that traction of them just showing body? To me, it doesn't.
It's not.
The algorithm wants
Hey,
people out here naked. They
yeah,
want people to expose what they got because that's what the public likes. Sex
Mm-hmm.
sells.
right. And
But also,
I'm not saying that's not the thing because I just said that. I just feel like if you're going to pay me and I've got the following to get paid, I can be monetized. Of course, I'm going to put out more content that's going to get me paid because at that point, I don't care. I'm making money from this, so that's going to be my motivation. And if I'm straight, yeah, I'm going to gay bait because who's going to pay for this stuff? Women are not paying to see naked men. They don't have to.
I mean, some of them do potentially, but
But they're
yeah,
not paying.
but
They're
mostly,
not
yeah,
paying men
that's
to
the
like
majority.
not the way that another man is.
yeah, that's
Especially
true.
if these guys if they see a guy that looks attractive and they think that
Mm-hmm.
there is a 0.0025 chance of them ever having any type of sexual connection with them, they will pay. And those straight guys don't care because why? They are getting paid. They have an incentive to keep doing this because they're getting money.
But I mean, even the people that aren't getting money, though, I mean, I think that there's still that euphoria of, okay, I got all this many followers, and so I got all of these many followers because I've posted this picture. So let me just continue to post more pictures like this because people quote seem to like that. And so that's kind of my thing. It's this idea of I don't mind seeing the bodies and I don't mind seeing like the show your face card, kind of posts and stuff like that. I don't mind seeing those, but like a lot of times people that I'm really interested in following are people who don't have an abundance of that on their pages. So like everything they do is not a gym photo. Everything they do is not them half naked. Everything they do is not them attempting to be sexy. Like there's other stuff. There's levels, levels to this shit, as they say. So that's what I'm really interested in seeing a little bit more. But it feels like that a lot of those differences, especially within gay men, uh actually, I don't know if it helps or it hinders our community as a whole, or if it helps or hinders them. I think it may help them feel good about themselves in the moment, which is always kind of interesting to me too, to uh when you hear people that say, okay, yes, I may be attractive, but I have this and I have this going on and I have that. But I think for the community, like people who are on the outside looking in, I think that's where we get a lot of the conversations about gays being over sexualized. And, we're talking about, right now, one of the hot button things are like drag bans, and they're saying that they're grooming children and like all of this stuff. So I feel like some of that, and I'm not trying to conflate those two, but I'm just kind of using that as an example. But I don't know. I don't know how it necessarily affects us day to day, and how we as a community show up in the world.
Well, I think it's important to remember, though, that we're only seeing the best of those photos, where we're not seeing the outtakes, we're not seeing the other parts
Mm-hmm.
of these people's lives. So, and a lot of people don't make that connection to see that, oh, I'm really only seeing what they want me to see. I'm not, and just like
Mm-hmm.
me on my social media, I only show you what I want you to see. But, yeah, my social media is probably really boring to some people and really exciting for other people. It just kind of depends on what, you get. But at the same time, if the people that are the gym bunnies and the thirst trappers, we're only seeing that one aspect of their lives. And, just because you have a nice body day, some of those guys are really like looking for some validation. and I'm just going to call it what it is. And I've talked to some of those guys before, and, you just be like, oh, okay, cool. That elevator don't go up to the top, but good for you. You've got a nice body. Awesome. And, sometimes people feel like, oh, well, you're just a hater. You're jealous. No, I'm not, because I'm happy that person is able to achieve those physical goals. I'm good at other things, and I'm okay with that. Everything isn't going to be, a 100% deal with all of us on the different attributes that we have in life. But I'd rather be a person that I feel like I'm more grounded and down to earth than a pretty person that doesn't know how to add 1 + 5.
I maybe have only met one person who I thought was like super attractive and, of course had the body and stuff like that. And then when you have a conversation, you go, okay, yeah, you're yeah. You're that's it.
Mhm.
This is it. This is it. But I've only maybe one person, one maybe two, if I really kind of think hard about it, but I don't know.
I mean, I've met some people that are attractive and really down to earth too. So it's not just that, but I definitely feel like a lot of them are really looking for that acceptance and validation, and they know they can get that, through looking nice.
What were you gonna say, John?
I want to say on the help or hinder part, is there room to just say that it does nothing? It's just there, like it just does nothing.
I mean, I think it's going to hinder you if you think that that's the only way that you can get people's attention or be popular, is to be like, oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to take off my clothes, or I got to bend over, or I got to show my print. You don't have to do those things. You don't have to be. Being popular on social media is not a requirement. Everyone's not going to be popular. And then that's just a thing.
And I think it kind of hinders a little bit as far as the entire community, because people generalize. And so they're just going to see, oh, okay, yeah, gay guys are this. It's almost like stereotypes, like stereotypes with gays. Like it used to be that you had to be Antoine Merriweather and Blaine Edwards.
There you go.
From here we go. I got to bring them up. Yeah, you have to be them from Men on Film. And that's not the case. Gays are not a monolith. Let's put that out there. So I think that sometimes it kind of hinders in that direction too. And it's interesting because I see it. I see the manifestation of social media when I go out. So I've told Jeff this before when we've hung out. It's like it's the same body is walking through the door of the club or the restaurant or wherever it is. I lived in South Florida for a while, and there's a whole gayborhood, in South Florida. And if you go to that gayborhood, it's the same body walking around.
The monolith.
That is the monolith. That is.
Hey, just from my overactive imagination, what is this body? I love to know.
It's always like somebody who is in the gym and they have a very nice upper body. Like they may have nice arms, they may have a nice chest. If they're a little thicker, they may have a little bit of a stomach, but not much. They're gonna show up in like a shirt that is kind of a little bit tight fitting. They're gonna have on but button down, yeah, or if it's a button up, or like what I have on right now, you'll see that, the sleeveless kind of joints, and then they'll have on some shorts that come right to the middle of their thigh. They're wearing sneakers, a baseball cap to the back, but everybody kind of is the same, almost like the same shape. So it's almost like, okay, either you're super muscular or you're muscular enough or you're kind of getting there. Everybody got a crossbody bag, so it's like it's this almost kind of stereotypical look that most guys have. And of course I'm being a little facetious here that it's not every single person that's like that, but that's what you see. That's what happens, especially in Atlanta. I mean, you all know that.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like that was more like a Florida thing, though, because I think there, because you've got more heat all the time, so people are going to be in less clothes most of the time. Versus like here, you're going to get all 4 seasons. So there's lots of us that like fall weather because we can we can cover up and
Cover up a little bit.
work on that body during that time. We don't have to like debut it until March and April. But I kind of feel like the Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Wilton Manors vibe, that aesthetic, definitely kind of fits, what I would think that would be. Just like the LA aesthetic probably is on the same tier, probably a little worse in LA from what I've heard. But yeah, I mean, I get it. Everyone wants to have that ass, abs, chest, arms, wide back,
Big dick. Like it's all of
big
those
dick,
things.
all of those things, if they got to saline it to get it up
So
to
it's
that
exaggerated.
level, whatever, so I get it just because of that area. I think Atlanta, it's kind of more, we definitely have that. So
Yeah, I
don't,
was like,
I'm
have
not
y'all
saying that
seen
we
that? Y'all
don't.
have seen that, right?
Yeah, I've
Mm-hmm.
seen it. Those gym bunnies, they normally all, if they don't flock together, they're in their
Exactly.
own little cliques, and then this side doesn't like that side. And they even try to like avoid each other in the gym. Could have been like there was some maybe, how shall I say, cross pollination, and it ain't work out the way that it was supposed to work out, and then that ended up being some drama.
That
So
sounds
yeah,
like a story time. That's not a story time. Jeff, do you have any intel in particular?
I would not
Yeah,
be opposed.
let's
I'm
qualify
intrigued.
cross
Nope.
pollination.
No,
Let's
you
qualify that.
can take cross pollination for what you think it means to be. So I'll leave that up to the listener to interpret.
So they were singing the same karaoke song at
Could have been.
karaoke.
They could
Okay,
have been doing a lot of the
got it.
same things
Okay,
at the same time
Mhm.
with the same
got it.
people.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, I feel like we do have that. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like that aesthetic kind of goes into just people finding that tribe, and I think that tribe ends up just being more visible. The body guys are just more visible. You're going to have still the network of the guys that are just the muscle chubs and this that and the other. Everyone ends up eventually finding their tribe in these different subgroups. But I do feel like the body guys do kind of stand out, and then there's that really thin line between being the body guy and the muscle bear, because those guys tend to be very close in the same circle.
They do. Speaking of going back to pre-social media or at the dawn of social media, remember when you would go to the club and you get the little flyer of, the club, they're doing this on this night, and there'll always be that guy with that very masculine ideal body.
Mm-hmm.
I think back to a quote that Zim Van Adams, y'all remember him, social media personality. He said, "The guys on the flyer are never at the party," but
They're never
you
there. Nope.
never, never, even to this day. Like when I think, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, even going to a deviant party, some of those guys that they advertise, I'm like, are they really going to be there? I haven't been there
Mm-mm.
personally, but they sell the image of what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Also going back to social media, the question comes up is it real or is it simulation?
What do you mean?
What do y'all think? Meaning, we see the highlight reel of someone's social media, the wins, the best
Oh,
shots, but is it reality or is it actuality? And I use those two terms, meaning reality is something that can be crafted to a certain point, but the actuality is something a lot more grounded. It doesn't have the, dare I say, artifice.
Well, I think reality has to have some sort of grounding in actuality. And so
Mm-hmm.
for
Sure.
me, even if you're just showing me your best shots, they're still you.
Mm-hmm.
It's still what you did that day. It's still what you believe. It's still how you look when you take your clothes off or put your clothes on. Either way, it's still that, because I'm that guy too that Jeff was talking about earlier, that I take 19 pictures and I will flip through and go, okay, I like this one. I'm getting rid of that one. I like this one. I like that one. And I like this one. And then I go through and post the ones that I actually really like. Because like Jeff and I will, again, we'll take a selfie and it's like, okay, let's take this again. All right, hold on. The light wasn't right on this one. Okay, I was looking off on this one. Let's take this again. And so he normally just kind of goes with it because I'm like, okay, look, all parties need to look the part when I get ready to put this out here. So
everybody needs to sign off.
Everybody needs to be in the room when this gets posted. So yeah, so I understand that, but I think that too. I've even thought like that. I've thought that, okay, well, it's got to be a situation of, all right, this isn't real. This is, somebody just kind of putting on airs just to get clicks and likes and views. But then I go, but it's them though. It is still them, at the end of the day. And it's like, well, damn, like you can Photoshop and filter, so much, but at the end of the day, like the physical form is still there. So that still kind of gets me a little, it leads me to think other things and maybe kind of hinders the way I look at myself sometimes. We had a whole episode about that.
I mean, I don't know. I guess if you feel like you have to look a certain way to be popular or to get attention, that's one thing. But I mean, that kind of goes, I think, both ways in a way. Because, like, I would rather, like, I know that there's times when I'm not happy with, I put on some weight. I haven't really been in the gym lately. Oh, I can feel it. Oh, I can see it. I don't like the way I look in this photo. I don't like the way this fits. I need to do something about this. I need to put this down. I need to pick this up type of deal. But I think there's just how you like manage it. Like I don't feel like, oh man, I don't look the way I used to look, in 2022 right now. I put on some weight. My stomach is big. I need to, what am I going to do? Like, I don't feel like I'm in this real dark space about it. Yeah, I know I could stand to lose a few pounds. Yes, I want to lose a few pounds. Yes, I want to look better in photos. But my goal with working out and getting back into shape isn't necessarily to just be look a
Social
certain
media
way
popular,
or for social media popularity. I know that I feel like there's people that face cards, for lack of better words, their face is going to be popular no matter what, because they just have that, symmetric, desired, conventional, attractive look to them. They can lose weight or gain weight. They will still be attractive no matter what. And you have those guys that have that facial quality plus, the personality plus the dedication to put themselves in the gym and, achieve those aesthetic goals on everything below their neck. They get to, enjoy the merging of all three of those factors and get to benefit from that. But I've never felt like, oh, I was this super gorgeous guy. Like, I felt like I looked okay, but I never felt like, oh, I was super attractive. I never got attention like that
Same.
when I was growing up. It wasn't until I got to be an adult where, and I would say within the last, since moving to Atlanta, probably with the last 8 to 7 years instead of the last 10, where I felt like, oh, I don't look as bad as I thought I did. Oh, I'm actually getting compliments. Where were these compliments, when I was an undergrad? Maybe my confidence would have been a little bit better. I would have, developed things a little bit more. But, now it's just kind of like, this is what you get. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But this is me. I'm not going to be going through no super big change to make myself look, like some Sean T top of dude or anything like that. If that ever happens, it would definitely be on purpose. But I'm okay with where things are for me.
I'll tell you, this aging, whew, oh my, it is a real thing. I
Yeah.
think the day I turned 40, somehow or another, I don't know, I went to sleep 39. I was one way. I woke up the next morning 40. I was like, where did all this extra weight come from? What in the hell just happened? And, I've learned to embrace it, but, because, hey, getting older is a privilege some people will not get to have. So, live life for yourself. Forget what other people say that you should have liked. But I will say this, I get annoyed when I see people say on social media, I just want to look like I did back when I was in high school in my early
Oh
20s.
yeah,
I'm thinking,
yeah.
why? And not coming from someone when I think back to my early 20s and my teens, I wasn't desirable, but I just think, why did you think that was when you really were at the height of your beauty power? You know, if I give it a word or two. I'm like, good Jesus, embrace what you got now and just work on that.
All right, everyone, we are going to take a pause here and continue this conversation next week. But hold on. Here's a clip from the next episode.
I'm still, listen, I'm still hoping that I can order some Malcolm Damien cookies. That's what I am really, looking forward to trying some of those. Have a good salad and some Malcolm Damien cookies. That would be awesome.
And that's a
He was selling those plates.
He was selling plates, friend chicken,
$75 plates. I'm like, what the hell is this?
and
friend
that,
chicken. And, yeah.
that goes back to what I just said is about you can't really control being popular. And I don't think Shamar had any expectation or was planning to, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna blow up and I'm gonna be popular at all, because I think if it was planned in any kind of way, some of the things that guy has done would not have come to pass, and there's lots of people that are sitting back and like, oh, I wish I had these opportunities that Shamar had. I wish I had these opportunities that Ms. Netta and Charles had. And you can basically say that, at least in Shamar's case, there's still a chance for Netta and Charles that Shamar fumbled that. But I don't think, I think there's some more things going on, where there's management that's not going through with Shamar, where that could have been handled a lot better, and this person could have been on TV or doing other things, but there's other things over there on Shamar that are preventing that.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Now be sure to like, share, and follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, and Spotify at Just Draws. That's JustDrawz. Until next time,